You can't replace part of the brain. Like, you
treat them the same.
The source of truth for the medtech industry.
Coexists with the province.
Robot understands things automatically.
Number one show in the medtech industry.
So Stryker got ahead of that and changed in the 90s, built $1 billion company that held up high, a lot of things.
State of MedTech.
With your host, Omar and Khatib.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. And I guess this would be our first, inaugural ophthalmology episode. We have a lot of great ophthalmologists who started following us last year, and we were a little bit behind on creating content. So I'm excited to have this founder on. It's Dr. Patricia Buehler, who is the founder of Osheru. And what's interesting about Osheru is that I've heard about a lot of different things in the ophthalmology world, whether it's corrective surgery, things that have to do with the cornea. But this is the first company that's actually focusing on excess skin and more specifically upper eyelid surgery. And so Dr. Buehler, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Omar, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, we have both investors and clinicians who listen to the show. And so we definitely want to get into both the clinical science of the product and technology, and then also what the investment opportunity is. But before we do that, maybe give us a little bit of background on yourself. Like, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school and train? And why'd you end up picking ophthalmology?
Well, I actually grew up on the south side of Chicago. I went to University of Chicago undergrad and then went to Johns Hopkins Medical School, where I fell in love with ophthalmology as a freshman medical student. So I was involved myself in the Department of Ophthalmology the entire 4 years. It's there where I met my husband, Newt Buehler, who's an orthopedic surgeon, and we got married and have 2 great kids, live in Oregon now.
That's fantastic. Always special when you get to marry your medical school classmates. You essentially go through the same hell together.
Really, really true.
So, as a practicing ophthalmologist, like, it's already hard enough when you have your own practice. What made you decide to start Osheru? What was the problem that you were looking to solve?
Yeah, that's a great question, Omar. So I've been an ophthalmologist for 25 years, and I've been doing cataract surgery and LASIK surgery, but I've also always loved to do eyelid surgery. So I've kept that as part of my practice since I graduated from residency. And when you're a cataract surgeon or a LASIK surgeon, you get to complete those procedures in 5 to 10 minutes. And so doing an upper lid blepharoplasty, which can take 45 minutes to an hour, just was tedious. And I thought, gee, there's got to be a better way. And there's so much innovation in ophthalmology, in cataract, glaucoma, and LASIK surgery. And there's just been almost no innovation in the last 100 years in blepharoplasty surgery or upper eyelid lifts. So I wanted to do something about that.
When you talk about the history of it, like, what has been the history? Because I think, like, of all medical procedures, I feel like procedures around the eye have been, like, they date back like thousands of years, even back to the time of Egyptians, when they were using needles, even, or the eye of the needle to essentially remove cataracts. But, like, what's the history of, like, eyelid surgery?
So eyelid surgery has been going on for a very long time. In fact, the inspiration for my device was from an ancient Egyptian medicine exhibit that I was at in New York at the Met. And they had an ancient text that described removing excess eyelid skin by compressing it between 2 twigs and tying off the ends of the twigs. And that compressed skin would fall off within a week without sutures or cautery or anything. And I thought, gee, that's a great idea. And of course, circumcision is done that way all around the world. And so I got that idea, and I got a patent for the device initially in 2014. But then we had kids and 2 busy practices, and my husband was also doing a little bit of product development with Stryker Corporation. And so we didn't get around to it until the pandemic, when we were both out of work. So our clinics and surgery centers were both closed for about 2 months. And so at that time, we said, we really should work on this idea. And so we partnered with an engineering firm and developed the idea to be a device. And I believe, solved many of the problems that exist with current upper eyelid surgery. And that's what's so exciting about the device. We make it better for the surgeon so they can complete the procedure in less than 10 minutes. Used to be a 45-minute procedure. They don't have to use any cautery or suturing, which is what is the most time-consuming part of the surgery. And we're making the surgery much better for patients because they have very little downtime and bruising like they do with the traditional blepharoplasty.
And so with traditional blepharoplasty, I'm assuming that they use cautery when they do that.
Yes. So an upper eyelid blepharoplasty, they kind of draw the excess skin that they want to remove. They usually use a blade to remove that excess skin, and there's quite a bit of bleeding of the face. So there's a lot of cautery going on, and then they suture it closed with sutures. And there's a lot of complications from the suture material. You can get little lumps and bumps in that incision and other suture complications. So it's really nice to use my device, which eliminates any of those little bumps. It's a nice smooth incision and no sutures.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably like really important in this case. I mean, I think one of the big parts about aesthetic procedures is number one is like how things are going to heal. But especially for the eyelid, I mean, I never thought about this, but like the eyelid is extremely thin and sensitive skin. So I would imagine that the margin for error is rather large, just because of those factors.
Yeah, it's actually the thinnest skin in the body is the upper eyelid skin at 0.7
Really?
millimeters on average. Yeah.
Interesting. I had no idea. What's the vascular? I've never thought about this ever, but like what's the vascularization like of the upper eyelid? Like I know you have quite a lot of vasculature around your eyebrow. So if you cut your eyebrow, like you're going to bleed a lot. What's it like for the upper eyelid?
Yeah, so the facial skin is pretty vascular overall. And in the upper eyelid, you've got the orbicularis muscle, which kind of encircles the eyelid that's just underneath the skin. And then you have vessels coming down from above on the upper eyelid, about a third of the way and a third of the way.
Got it. Interesting. Now, just for those, for our listeners, a lot of them are viewers. They watch on both on Spotify and YouTube. So for those who are on those platforms, I'm gonna quickly jump over to your website just to kind of show the product. And for those who are wanting to learn more, company's Osheru, but the product is ZipLyt. You can check out at ZipLyt.com. That's ZipLyft.com. So let's take a look at the product. I really like the design of it because I'm a big fan of like simple and nice looking design. So here we go. So here's the product. Tell us what we're looking at here. All right, everyone, quick commercial break. If you're a MedTech CEO/founder, or maybe you're a sales or marketing leader at a startup or a scale up, you're going to want to listen to this. Are you struggling to get in front of your ideal audience, whether that's investors or perhaps clinicians who want to adopt your product? Maybe you're getting ghosted. You send emails and messages and nothing comes back, nothing happens, right? Or worse, nobody knows who you are, right? In business, visibility is everything. And I always tell people, if you want to persuade before persuasion can happen, you have to learn how to get attention. So if your sales team is desperate for traction, clinicians don't know your name, investors have never heard of you, you're losing opportunities every day. And that needs to change now, not tomorrow, not next week, now. That's where my company Katib & Co comes in. We don't just do marketing, we do growth. We figure out how to engineer markets by creating magnetic messaging that makes you impossible to ignore. And we build high impact strategies, of course using social media, but other channels such as email, text, and others to help turn content and messaging into commercial pipeline, and it leads into closed deals. As an example, we worked with a surgical robotics company in raising a $31 million Series A, and then they needed help on their pre-market release. So we packed their CRM with 198 surgeon leads and nurtured them down that ended up becoming 4 closed hospitals. 4 hospitals closed and adopted this technology within a period of 6 months, and they got 2 great key opinion leaders in the process. So whether you're a startup founder wearing too many hats, or maybe you have a marketing team that's just spread too thin and they don't have the expertise, my team and I plug in and partner up with your company, and we amplify your reach. From crafting powerful sales scripts to optimizing your team's demo calls, creating content, having it go out on a consistent basis, we transform your outreach into a growth engine. So if you're ready to dominate your market, you're ready to become a no name and people to know of you and take your calls and take your meetings, I want you to act right now. Don't wait anymore because you've already wasted plenty of time. Go to growmymedtech.com. That's growmymedtech.com. And I want you to schedule a quick call. My team and I will give you a free analysis with 2 to 3 actionable ideas. There's no strings attached. And if we're a fit,
great. We can get partnered up and we can help you go to the next level. And if not, look, the ideas are always free. So do not wait and don't waste any more time. Go to growmymedtech.com right now and let's make you the go-to name in your niche. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So it's a clear design so that the surgeon can see the skin markings of the skin that they want to remove through the device. It has jaws that open so you can pull the excess skin that you want to have removed into the device and make sure you have all the markings in there before you close and lock. And that's what that finger is doing. It's kind of locking the device shut. So there's open on the front and then closed on the back. And then there's a blade that is sitting there that's similar to an 11 blade, and that glides across the top of the device in order to remove the excess skin. So the skin is the device is like a tourniquet, so it stops any bleeding, and the skin is then excised with no bleeding. And then when the device is removed, you've got a sealed ridge of skin that then can be closed with tissue adhesive.
Interesting. That's fascinating. And so, something that I really like about that is that, at least in the world of ophthalmology, the surgical skills that you have are a little bit different, right? And so what I like about this device is that it's when I say it's low tech in the sense that it's not anything super complicated, and it looks like it's something that any ophthalmologist can use regardless of their training. And more importantly, you're going to get, for the most part, consistent outcomes with this, or consistent result, So at first, at least when I was looking at this, originally I thought it was just the clamp, but the fact that, so you have like a small 11 blade that's attached to that device. Essentially, you just run across kind of like those,
like a Ziploc or
like a zip. Oh yeah, like a Ziploc. Yeah, that's the name, ZipLyt.
Hence the name. So the device comes in a kit with two devices, one for the right and one for the left, and they have markings on them, so you can make sure that you're perfectly symmetric and that the tissue that you want is in the device before you do any cutting. So it does give a lot of comfort, and it's kind of like a template. They used to do orthopedic surgery freehand when they did a knee replacement. Well, then they started using actually some templating, and it made it a lot better and more accurate. And that's what
made it a lot
better.
Procedure.
Oh, yes. So we'd like to bring that precision to ophthalmologists. And yeah, some ophthalmologists stop doing blepharoplasty. So we want them to be able to feel comfortable doing it and getting very consistent results and very happy patients. And it's not just ophthalmologists. A lot of upper lid blepharoplasties are done by oculoplastic specialists and facial plastic surgeons. So we will be marketing to those three market segments.
That's fantastic. And something that I like about this is that this is, at least from what I can tell, this is predominantly a cash-based procedure, correct?
That's right. So it's a cosmetic procedure, and it's all cash pay.
Wonderful. For ophthalmologists who are doing blepharoplasties, is one of the reasons why they have stopped, or a lot of ophthalmologists have shied away from it, is mainly because the post-op healing complications that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think that only about 10% of ophthalmologists are still doing blepharoplasty, and they were all trained to do it. But I think they start doing cataract and lasers. And as I said, those are very fast and rewarding procedures, whereas the upper eyelid blepharoplasty used to be kind of tedious and take more time. I also think the postoperative care was a little more involved as far as patients being concerned about how they look and the bruising and having to hold hands a little bit with the patient during that healing process. But with the ZipLyt, we really almost eliminate bruising, and there is still a little bit of swelling, but the patients do very well and can get back to being event ready within a week or two.
Wow. So then, so you apply the device, you glide it over to remove that skin. You mentioned using
Tissue adhesive.
Okay, got it. And then from there, this seems like a procedure that would take 15, 20 minutes to do?
So actually, a traditional blepharoplasty is about 45 minutes to an hour, but with ZipLyt, the procedure could be completed in less than 10 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty fast. And at least from an efficiency standpoint, you could knock out a good amount of those. And just on average, what would a physician charge for blepharoplasty, just roughly?
Well, in the United States, a cosmetic blepharoplasty on average is $4,200, but we believe that with the
Or
zip
eye
lift,
or both eyes?
both
Okay,
eyes.
got it.
But with ZipLyt, we think we can charge more. In fact, we've done marketing surveys, and patients are willing to pay more to get the benefits of ZipLyt, the less bruising and swelling and faster recovery time.
Yeah, and I think, what's interesting about this is that because it's a cosmetic procedure and cash based, at that point, if somebody's willing to pay a few $1,000s for something, asking for even 20, 30, 40% more isn't that big of a difference. Um, the device, like your business model for the device, it's mainly it's a one-time pay per use per device, and that's it, correct?
Right, it's a disposable device. So the surgeon purchases the kit and then uses it for their procedure to make it faster and more efficient for them.
Got it. Got it. Now on the clinical side, do you have any, first of all, like where are you guys in your FDA like regulatory pathway? Are you guys commercially available now?
So yes, so that is one of the beautiful things about our device. It is a, class 1
Oh,
510(k)
amazing.
exempt device. So we do not have to do a clinical trial, and the device is registered with the FDA. So that
Fantastic.
is, and the fact that we don't have to get any Medicare codes for it, because it is a cash pay procedure, really streamlines the process of getting this device to market. We started out doing testing on chicken skin on our kitchen table. We used some chicken thighs, and we'd pull this because the skin of a chicken thigh is very similar to the skin of an upper eyelid. So we did lots of chicken skin dissection with prototype devices until we got it so that we were real confident that it was working well. And then in our small town in Oregon, we actually have a very sophisticated cadaver lab at the university there. And so we started doing cadaver testing. We did 6 cadaver labs. And then we began using it in patients in January of 2024. So we've used it on 72 patients so far. And we're getting ready to start a pilot study with 6 surgeons all across the country, some oculoplastic and some general ophthalmologists that are going to be using the device as part of a pilot study. So we can get some data to be published at meetings and demonstrate the claims of the device.
Fantastic. In terms of if you have any, I mean, have you guys done any kind of clinical studies or have any clinical data, even at least maybe some, like what has been the feedback overall from some of your clinical users?
Yeah. So, as I said, we've done 72 patients, and we've had excellent results. The patients have done a patient reported outcome survey, and they talk about how they felt about their eyelids and what was bothering them, and then we do the survey after the surgery, and we had excellent results. 90% of patients reported back that they were very satisfied with the results of the surgery. And they were happy that they got the ZipLyt. We also do a surgeon satisfaction survey to kind of check have the surgeon give input about the various things they'd like about the device, if there's anything that they would want changed, so they can have input into the device. And then we also did pre and post-op photographs so that we can monitor the bruising afterward, and also the incision and how smooth and nice the incision looks. The incision is really one of the things I really like a lot about this device compared to a sutured incision. It's a really beautiful, smooth incision.
Nice. Well, it sounds, I mean, as you talk about this more, and our connection is through our good friend Bruce Cleveland, who's kind of the father of the of market engineering. But a lot of what you're describing sounds similar to like when surgery went from like open surgery to minimally invasive. Would this be the same thing, like minimally invasive eyelid surgery?
Yes, this is what minimally invasive eyelid surgery is our category. And currently our device is for upper eyelid surgery, but we believe it can be applied to lower eyelid surgery as well.
Uh-huh.
And our tagline is opening eyes beautifully, because we think we'll be opening eyes beautifully both for the surgeon and for the patient. There's over 500,000 of these procedures done in the US every year, and over 2 million worldwide. It's a $5.2 billion market cap, and it's growing rapidly, especially with Zoom calls and social media. So since 2019, upper lid blepharoplasty has increased by 39%. So this is a very large growing procedure and market cap, and younger people are getting the procedure. And so it's really been fascinating to watch. So while we've been in development of this procedure, the demand has really skyrocketed.
That's amazing. And it makes sense too, in the sense that, as people are working more and more from home, the need for these kind of things increases. I mean, what's interesting is that as new technology gets introduced, like you end up with like new problems. And like one of those things that I got more familiar with is like just from spending so much time from a blue screen, like that actually has a negative impact on men's testosterone levels. But the eyes make so much sense, and I've even noticed on my eyes, which is why I wear blue blockers. Um, what's interesting is that like your TAM here in the US at 500,000 procedures. You said 500,000 procedures a year, right?
Correct.
I think that's really just tip of the iceberg, because it's one of those markets that I think of where once the problem is marketed and educated well, more people become aware of it, and then more people seek out that solution. Versus in the past, like first, like 39% is a huge growth rate. The other side of it is that a lot of people just get used to that and they kind of accept it as an issue. But like I see this similar to like men's hairlines, which is it used to be like a thing where it's like, oh, you just lose your hair and that's it. But now you have multiple billion-dollar companies have arisen because there's an actual solution to that issue, which was just an aesthetic problem. And I think that like everybody's sort of chasing this ability to feel younger, look younger. So I think this is a great time for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And it does. It really makes people look refreshed and younger, and they feel more confident, which is one of the things we'd like to achieve. So it's been it's a big market, and I do, as you said, it's going to be growing because it's a lot more acceptable now to have cosmetic procedures, and even at younger ages.
Yeah, and just for the audience who are watching, I just want to show an example. And by the way, this is not on ZipLyt's website. This is just like a Google search, but just so you can see like how dramatic this is. But when you look at sort of before and afters for blepharoplasty, I mean, it's pretty striking. I mean, if you look at the woman here, I mean, it's a really big difference. Like I would say, like I don't know, I would say there's some argument that this is actually aesthetically more valuable than, let's say, like getting Botox or something.
Yeah, well, it's definitely longer lasting. So Botox you have to do every 3 months, but this procedure you can get it done, and really you only have to have it done once, and that's an advantage.
When it comes to the application to the lower eyelid, is that like there's like bags under people's eyes? Would essentially, hypothetically, like if you're essentially removing the skin on the lower eyelid, would that technically stretch out the bags under somebody's eyes and remove that? Is that the thought behind that?
So there's really two components to the lower eyelid. One is the excess skin, and then some people have a lot of excess fat as well. And so our current device is for upper eyelid surgery and for skin removal of upper eyelids. But we are working on a secondary device that would work on the lower eyelids, and also some techniques for removing the fat pads as well.
Got it. And then, what's great is that you guys are a class 1 device, so it's a lot easier, and especially for investors, they don't have to worry about these huge regulatory hurdles. Roughly to date, some founders like to mention, some people don't, so no pressure. But to date, like how much have you guys raised, and then like in your current raise, like what are you guys looking to accomplish?
So we have really raised from friends and family. We were able to raise $4.7 million, and we've been using.
That's a great raise for friends and family. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, especially in this environment, it's been challenging. But we still have, and that was just a seed round. So we actually have not done a Series A yet, and we think we won't need to do a Series A until into 2026.
Fantastic. And then you guys are commercially available right now. So have you guys started generating revenue, or what does your commercial traction look like?
So we actually are doing this pilot study currently. So we're not going to launch the product until the American Academy of Ophthalmology meeting, the AAO meeting, which is in October of 2025. So that's when we're going to do a limited launch. You know, we really want to get a lot of good feedback from surgeons so we can make the device the best it can be. And the pilot study will help with that. But then doing kind of a limited launch will do that as well before we launch more broadly. We think the training program that we give to surgeons will be super important. Some of the surgeons have, do blepharoplasties every week, but others will want to be trained, and we want to have an excellent training program for that.
Fantastic. And then in terms of the commercialization side of it, I know you're more or less a year out, but is this something that you technically need a sales force for? Are you going to work with the distributorship? Just because it seems like it's a small device and pretty intuitive, but how do you guys think about marketing and selling it?
So yeah, that's a great question. We are going to be we have a chief commercial officer, and we'll be hiring a sales team of 3 other individuals to start with in that limited launch in October, and then we'll ramp up as we need to with more salespeople. In ophthalmology, there's independent reps, but there's also contracted, and so we'll probably do a little bit of a variety of both and see what works best.
Fantastic. And then, no offense to the ophthalmologist listening, sorry, I just have to ask this question. But because of how simple it is when I say simple, I say it as a compliment. Like, it's a pretty easy device to use. It's pretty intuitive, and that's what I like about it.
I like to say it's elegant.
Elegant, there we go. It's elegant. But is there anything stopping you guys from, say, also commercializing this and selling it to aesthetic practices and plastic surgeons? Do they do blepharoplasties, or they stay away from the eyes?
So, facial plastic surgeons do blepharoplasties. They do a lot of blepharoplasties, and yes, we will be marketing to facial plastic surgeons as well. They do a lot of blepharoplasties, and initially, we're really targeting people that do blepharoplasties. So, ophthalmologists, oculoplastic specialists, and facial plastic surgeon that do blepharoplasties. So that's our primary target.
Got
RNs can't do surgery, so they would not have access to the device.
Sure. No, that makes sense. But what I like about this is that, I'd say of all of the clinicians that are out there, aesthetic / plastic surgeons are like pretty capitalistic. And so if there's a technology that enables an easier procedure for them that they can add like a new revenue line to, like, they'll adopt it pretty quickly. So I think I think it'd be really interesting to see how you guys do in that realm. But it makes sense that your main beachhead is like ophthalmologists doing blepharoplasties as is.
Right. But we do feel like we're making inroads. We were at a facial plastic surgery meeting in LA a few months ago, and we had very good feedback from facial plastic surgeons that are interested in the device. Even when they do a full-on facelift, they still have to do an upper eyelid blepharoplasty. And if they can complete that portion of the surgery in 10 minutes, it saves the patient money because they're under anesthesia for less time, and saves the surgeon a lot of time. So we think that there's definitely a role for the device in facial plastic surgery as well.
Got it. Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, especially considering the like huge difference between like a traditional blepharoplasty is about, you said, about 45 minutes to an hour versus this takes about less than 10 minutes.
Yes. The time savings is important, but this also can be done in the office with either oral sedation like Valium, just like we do with LASIK surgery. Or,
Really?
yeah. So it can be done in office. You don't have to go to the surgery center. You don't have to have an IV. You don't have to have a lot of staff. And again, it's such a short procedure. The patient is very comfortable, and there's not a lot of postoperative care. The patients go home. The adhesive actually has antibiotic properties in it, antibacterial properties in it, so you don't have to use any ointment or antibiotic. And the glue comes off, or the tissue adhesive comes off in about a week. So there's no suture removal appointment where you have to go in and have the uncomfortable procedure of having sutures removed. So it's a lot more comfortable for the patient as well.
And the adhesive is not something you guys produce, correct?
No, we don't. We've used several different available tissue adhesives that are on the market that come provided sterilely, and we're currently using Dermabond.
Dermabond's a great product. Now, I know it's very early, but again, for like the investors who are listening, I do have to ask the question. But when you think about um, the future, I think the nice thing about med tech is that while it's not as like wild and sexy as, let's say, like big tech or LLMs and AI and stuff, what's nice about med tech is it's a pretty steady eddy industry, and it's a pretty clear path to making a good return, which is either you're going to go public and you're going to get acquired, or you do well and as a private company you get acquired. But when you think about some of the strategics in this space, who are some of the strategics that come to mind that you think might get interest in your company? I'll throw one out there from my side, but I think Allergan is one of the big companies that comes to mind for myself. But for you guys, what strategics come to mind?
Yeah, Allergan has a huge aesthetic division, and this would be a wonderful product for them to take into their company. Galderma is a big one. Merz is also another big cosmetic company that usually does Botox and fillers, and then the threading that some people do. And so this would fit right in with those sorts of things as a product that they might be interested in.
And something I completely glossed over, but I wanted to ask you is like, what does your like IP look like right now?
So we have very strong IP and an excellent IP firm that's working with us, and we just got back some of our information from the IP attorney, and really there's a 1990s claim that's very old that company doesn't exist anymore. There's just nothing in this field. It's just there hasn't been much innovation in blepharoplasty in a very long time. So the combination of very, very strong IP, it being a class 1 device, not needing any Medicare codes because it's cash pay, I think it's a great opportunity to grow this field and to really provide a great product for surgeons and for patients.
Fantastic. And just out of curiosity, I mean, there are some aesthetic procedures that are cash pay, but depending on how bad they are, they could turn into something that's, at least the pathology is bad enough that it can warrant a code, right, or reimbursement from insurance. So is there a world where there's some pathology in the eyelid that it's bad enough that like Medicare, Medicaid, or insurance will cover it, and then your device could be used?
So yes, there is functional blepharoplasty, which is when the eyelids are so droopy they affect the peripheral vision, and those are covered by Medicare. There's about 130,000 of those done every year, covered by Medicare. But this device is not for those procedures. This device is for cosmetic procedures.
But if somebody would want to use it for functional blepharoplasty, could they technically or no?
They could.
Got it. Got it. But I mean, why not? I mean, why worry about that? I feel like you guys have you have the right market. It's a cash based procedure, so I think it's the right way to go. For clinicians who are listening, I know that you're going to be at the American Ophthalmology Association. Is AOA for so many of these acronyms I'm trying to keep straight in our industry. So AOA, that's going to be in October. Any other conferences you guys are going to be at, whether it's clinical or let's say investor summit related?
Yeah, so we'll be at the ASCRS, which is the Association of Cataract and Refractive Surgery, which is in April in Los Angeles. And that's the second biggest meeting in ophthalmology. That's where we won the Winning Pitch Challenge, where we won Best Early Stage Company in 2023, and then we won People's Choice Award in 2024. At that meeting, there's an investor component of that meeting called Eyecelerator, which starts the day before the more academic portions of the meeting. So we'll be there. We'll actually be having some demos and letting people be introduced to the device. And people can contact us or go to our website at ZipLyt.com or Osheru.com and learn more. We have videos of the surgery and pre and post-op patient photographs, similar to what you showed earlier, to kind of demonstrate the beautiful results we have with ZipLyt.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really excited for you guys, Dr. Buehler, and especially, again, I love devices where elegantly designed, elegant, but more importantly, just intuitive, and it's a very simple solution that makes sense, and it's cash based. So I think it's a really exciting opportunity for investors and for clinicians. What I'm really interested to see is that, assuming all things go well and everything for you guys, a few years from now, how many more of those procedures are going to be done? So right now it's at 500 a year, but considering that growth rate of 39% that you mentioned of people having these kind of issues, and with better marketing that people know that is like, I don't know, I feel like this is something that is gonna, if done right, can really go viral on like an Instagram and TikTok, and then all of a sudden you have so many people who are just like, yeah, like I'll pay cash for that right now.
Yeah, and it's already the second most common cosmetic procedure done in the United States behind nose jobs. So it's the second most common cosmetic procedure done in the United States.
Behind what?
Rhinoplasty.
Oh, behind rhinoplasty? I had no idea.
Yeah.
So blepharoplasty is like above like breast augmentation, all the, wow, I did not know.
Facelifts. Yep, it is.
Wow.
Very common procedure.
Wow, interesting. And just the patient population, what's the age usually?
You know, a lot of people get blepharoplasties, usually starting at age 40, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but 70s and 80s. I mean, there's a lot of people that need a blepharoplasty, but any age any age, usually about 40 is usually when the people start having it.
Got it. Fantastic. Well, look, Dr. Buehler, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm looking forward to following you guys along. And again, for those who are listening, whether you're a clinician or investor, go to ZipLyt.com. That's ZIPLYFT.com. And as usual, I'm your host, Omar Khatib. If you like this episode, go ahead and send it to a clinician, send it to an investor. Be sure to like and subscribe, and then we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to do me a big favor and join so many other people who have helped grow this podcast, take a second and look below. If you're on Apple, give us 5 stars and write a short review. If you're on Spotify, just give us 5 stars. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like button. And most importantly, if you can, subscribe. We release so many different episodes that you may miss. Be sure to subscribe and turn your notifications on. You get extra points with me if you subscribe across all 3 channels. Thank you so much. And if you felt like this episode helped you, send this to somebody who'd really enjoy and appreciate it. Share and spread the love. We'll see you all next time.